Happy New Moon. I wanted to get on here and talk about global warming. Well, it's one thing I want to talk about because I haven't really got to expound on it. It's kind of difficult for me to put into words. You know, before, when I went through my awakening in the desert, well, really, I mean, I've been connected to Source all my life since birth, but people told me I was crazy and to bury it and to not look at it. And so I buried it for so many years. And then when I was in the desert and Source came and met me out there in the desert, basically I had to learn how to walk and talk all over again practically, especially talking. I couldn't I couldn't form words. I couldn't form letters, and it's one reason why I've had a hard time. I've been very much wrapped up into my healing and my own walk, really, because how can anybody help anybody until they help themselves and heal themselves? So it's not that I've been able to talk to many people before. I used to go into the prisons and talk to 1,000 people, 1,000 prisoners at a time, and really have great sessions. But that was a long time ago, and then I went through all this change. So I'm trying to just stay in tune with Source, because I'm a portal, and I just want to make sure what I'm doing is what I need to be doing, because you can kind of go crazy with this stuff, and it's hard to go into your journey and have a balance, because there is a time and a moment there where things start to get really unbalanced feeling, and if you feel a little leaky and you feel a little bit of not real stable, and that's when you really have to press into your self-love, press into Source, and just shut out all the voices around you, and just with complete certainty know who you are, and know who lives in your heart, who lives within you. Because it's not an external thing, Source isn't on the outside of us. Source is on the inside of us. What we do with everything on the outside is sexual energy. It's a creative force that we use, and so it's beautiful, but it's a creative force. It's physical, and Source is basically energy. It's non-tangible. So global warming. Basically what's going on is there's a trillion big bangs going on almost every second of the day. And what I mean by that is every piece of grass that comes through the ground, every leaf that falls, every flower that blooms, every butterfly that, goes into a cocoon. I mean, there's constantly something going on all around us. You don't see it with your eyes because you're busy with your own stuff. You're not focused on that thing, but the way the wind blows, the way the wind hits a leaf or a tree, or the falling of a tree, or the birth of animals, the way the birds find a seed or find a worm. Constantly there are things going on, I mean, by the second. And our lower vibrations, the lower frequency that the world carries, most of the world carries. Now, many of us are waking up, and many of us are really helping the shift. But the thing is what happens if you don't have a higher frequency, and this birthing is being taken place, these big bangs are going on, they're being held, they're being constrained, and they're not able to expand into with their energy, because they're being held back from negativity, from the energy of negative forces, which we create through our own stuff. You know, I mean, we can go into it, but I don't like talking about all that because I believe there's a balance in everything we do, but basically we become out of balance really bad. And it's coming back into balance, so, and it's really beautiful. There's a lot of people getting on board and waking up and coming into their own and coming into their own power. And like I said before, a lot of great teachers out there. So basically, global warming could be healed and could be solved just by humanity raising their vibration. There's almost every problem in this world that we have can be solved through us raising our vibration and becoming more of an enlightened species instead of an animal species, you know. We're moved by animal instincts. We're not moved by higher instincts. We have no idea how to move in the flow of Source because we've been so disconnected. Even though Source has never left us, Source has always been within us. But we have shut off to that, and our focus has been to the outside. It's been to the bills. It's been to the job. It's been to the car. It's been to getting this. It's been to the child. It's been to, you know, schools. It's been to doing this. It's just so focused on the outside that we're driven, and we forgot there's a whole world within us that has all the answers. It has all the problems solved. It has all the bills paid. It has the schoolings taught. It has the education there already. It has everything. And this is what Source wants to get back to. And this is why things are crumbling in the government system, in a lot of the government systems, is because there's such a control and such a negative control over humans, and ridiculous laws that don't even make sense, just to harass people, basically, just to harass them, just to see if they can trigger people so they can make money off of them by sending them to jail or whatever their little tricks are to, you know, making money off of us. But humanity's waking up to a lot of this and is wanting and is taking their power back and revising the whole system, realizing they're smart enough to run their own lives, smart enough to take care of themselves, and it's really quite beautiful, you know. It's just the people that were in control, just the control went to their head, you know. It just went to their head, and they just got too big for their britches, and basically Source said enough is enough. You know, we've been enslaved by this for so long, and it feels very alien to be free from it, to be free from the constraints of law, stupid laws, basically. I'll tell you this story. I was in the States, and I had my car, and it was a Sunday afternoon. I was in California, and I was crashing at some people's house, and there was a lot of people there, and I just wanted to get away and kind of just chill. So I found this road. It was this real big, like, huge road on this side hill going up, and I think there was a university or something there. But it was really quiet. It was a Sunday, no cars, no traffic, nothing. There was a little shade tree, and it was kind of hot out. So I thought, well, I'll go up there and park and just do some meditation and just, you know, have some quiet time. So I drove up there, and I just decided to park, you know, up on the side of the street, kind of up against the curb, out of the road and everything. And I, started to go into a meditation and just started to spend time with Source. It was just really nice. There was a good breeze coming through and everything was perfect, really quiet. Not a car in sight, not a person in sight, nobody. And out of the blue, this car comes pulling up now from nowhere. And I rolled down my window was rolled down, and he rolled down his window and basically said, "Was everything all right?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I'm just sitting here meditating, and just kind of being in the under the shade tree here." I said, "Is this a problem?" They said, "Oh, no, no." I said, "Well, it doesn't look like anything's open. I'm not in anybody's way." He said, "No, no." He goes, "But you need to turn around because you're on the wrong side of the road, and you need to be going the other direction because that's the way the road." And I'm like, "There's nobody here." I said, "I'm not." And it's just, he just wanted to be in control. That's all he wanted to do. It was just, I just looked at him. I said, "You got to be kidding me." I said, "So you want me just to turn around and park the way you want me to park because of the way the signs go, even though there's not one person in sight, there's no traffic, nobody's here." And this is what I'm talking about, just stupid little stuff like that, people want to get to you and try to just, why? Why can't people just leave people alone if they're just at peace and they're not bothering anybody and they're not hurting anyone? Why do they want to just come and just pick at you? It's like, how does their mind work? I kind of like just didn't even know what to say to him. I just started laughing at him. But it's those little things like that I just, it's control is all it is. It's all, they can't stand the fact that you might have your free will and to decide, that it's okay to park on this side of the street right now because it's closed and there's nobody here. I mean, of course, if it was traffic and things going on, it's common sense to follow the law because everybody's doing it and you want the traffic to flow correctly. But if there's nobody there, what does it matter? Really, what does it matter, And this is what they don't want to allow you, that little bit of freedom to just even think for yourself. And it's unfortunate because people are taking their freedom back and they are going to do what they want to do and they are going to stand up for themselves. And I think it's important that we do. I mean, they've taken everything away from us that, it's like clones. Everybody's like clones, just, following each other. And this is the one thing I keep saying, why I keep encouraging people to find their way, because even in our journey, we're not doing the same thing. It's not like we're all going in the same direction and we're all these clones. Now we're, awakened clones. No, it's like some people will be told to do this. Some people will be told to do that. Some people will be told to move here. Some people will be told to move there. Some people will, it's going to be different for everybody. And there's no right or wrong way. And that's something that's so beautiful about the tapestry that Source is weaving and creating, is the colors and the way it's blending together. It's blending together because of the difference of everybody, not because we're all the same. If we were all the same colored thread, it would be a boring tapestry. But to have the different shades and the different colors and the different textures, and that's what we are. Truly, within, we're unique in our own self. And so I know, there's a lot of people that are, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And do you do this? And do you do that? And yeah, it's good to get, probably, especially when you're newly awakened or you're just new to all this, it's good to get ideas. But it doesn't mean you have to flow in that idea. Definitely, I always say this, and almost everything, every time I ever tape is, only if it resonates, follow it only if it resonates, because all I can tell you is what works for me and how it works for me. but we're all so unique and beautiful in our own right. I mean, there's nobody that has all the answers for you or for me. The only person I have the right answers for is I have the right answers for me. And it might not be the same answer for you. It might be different. But our basis is unconditional love. And I think a lot of it probably has to learn how we can unconditionally love one another, you know? Learning how to do that by, even if we're different. Usually it's like, well, I can't love you if you look at something different than me, or if you look different than me, or you do things different than me, you know, because you're weird, or I don't understand, but we're learning how to expand, and it's going to be beautiful. It's different, and it feels weird. It feels a little different. It feels a little odd to let people have their space, because we've been so programmed to live life a different way, you know, to live life according to these man-made rules instead of the rules of Source, the rules of our own inner being. I wanted to talk about sex because I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Sexual energy is creative energy. Of course, Napoleon Hill said that. And yet, we've been told to, you know, cover up, and told, you know, that it's shameful. And a lot of people, even when I first came out and Source was really just, I was glowing up big time. I mean, I had people even in Israel wanting to put me in basements and lock me up down in dark basements, and not to, you can't be seen, you can't be seen. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why? And you just can't be seen like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, and I was fully clothed. I wasn't unclothed or anything. It was just the glow of my light. And the more of us are glowing, I mean, there is a sexual energy behind it. It's not intentional, but it's Source. Because Source is highly sexual energy constantly. I mean, it's the creative force behind everything. Of course it's going to feel sexual. And it is sexual. But it's sexual in a way that we don't understand. We understand it to be this animal instinct, sexual, you know, lust, and you know, just a whole different type of understanding of it's a lower vibrational understanding of what sex is. It's self-gratification. It's just me, 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 me. And the creative sexual force that Source talks about is the coming together on an equal vibrational frequency, you and your partner pleasing each other. And it's not all about, you know, what I can get, or and it's not, there's no lust or anything. It's basically seeing Source in each other and creating a higher frequency through your lovemaking and through the act of you know, sexual intercourse. In fact, Source thinks so highly of sex that in the Zohar, it speaks of it as being the holy palace. That it calls that sexual intercourse, or the act of sex, is called the holy palace. It thinks so highly, and so that it's royalty. It's a place of divine pleasure, of coming together, not only with another partner, but with Source energy there to create good things in your lives. I mean, you can manifest so many beautiful things. You can manifest anything you want, basically, if you do it according to that frequency of love, that pureness place of love. And I'm not talking about. It talks about it in the Zohar, that it talks about that it's not a Puritan or a Victorian or a moralistic attitude towards sex. On the contrary, sex is sacred. It talks about what sexual sin is. Sexual sin is that you're divorced from your inner self and from your partner. That it's just all about the body. It's all about the physical end of it, instead of having that connection with another person, with your partner, with your wife or your husband, or the person you're committed to. You know, I think you know, a lot of different groups, cults, basically, I guess you would call them, that have awakened and become enlightened, have gotten this thing out of balance a little bit, because you end up, you know, hearing about the orgies, and you hear about, 10 people sex, and I don't want to expound on any of it. You know, I'm not condoning it. I'm not condemning it. You know, I feel like everybody's journey needs to be what it is, but something obviously went wrong somewhere, because the ones that did believe that way, the ones that did believe in this whole open thing like that, this whole open relationship, they all went sour. I mean, they all went sour. Even the ones that, you know, many still follow. I mean, there's a lot of people that still follow Osho, but, you know, he failed. Somewhere along the line, something wasn't right. It all went sour somewhere. And our hopes with this awakening is that we keep our intentions pure, you know, we keep our intentions in line. That's why it's so important to not follow anybody. It's so important to follow your own inner guidance, because humans are just humans, and we all have our shadow, and we all have an ego, and these are two things we cannot get rid of. They're the two things we've opened ourselves up to when we came to Earth, when we decided to leave the garden in the first place. We opened ourselves up to shadow and our lower ego. And at any given moment, it can take a hold of you, unless you are supremely disciplined and free from these lower attributes. And it's not easy. The resistance is not easy. It can be done. I mean, you walk away and you never go back, you know, to thinking that way. But it's very important to follow your own heart, and your own guidance, and just like I feel like keeping it as pure as possible, to return to innocence. You know, how do we do that? How do we return to innocence, really? You know, to become as a child again, childlike faith. It says it. It says it in the Bible. You know, it says it in the Torah, that you will be led by a small child, and that small child is your own child within you, your own innocence. And that's why I'm always saying we've got to heal. Everybody has to heal. There's no, people say, well, what do you mean by healing? when it's your time, you will know. There's no forcing it, but you'll cross that bridge when Source brings you through it. But for me, it was going into my childhood, into um, areas where I was controlled, areas where I was told I, never be nothing, that just things we were programmed at small, when we were very small, that caused us a lot from holding back from who we truly are. And I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anybody, because I feel like parents only what they knew. It wasn't intentional. I don't think anybody's parent does things intentionally. It's really their lower self, and that's why, returning to our higher self is really important, and learning how to forgive and not point a finger. But you do have to go into those areas of healing. And once you heal your inner child, the wounds of your inner child, then you can truly pull like, okay, let's say somebody's hurt you, somebody repeatedly hurts you over and over again. Let's say boyfriend girlfriend situation, because that's usually the ones that hurt people the most, is somebody saying how much they love you, whether it's a woman or a guy, and that they're going to be there, and then they stiff you, and they don't show up, or they gaslight you somehow. And then you feel very small, you feel very unloved, you feel angry, you feel bitter, you feel jealous. You go through all these different emotions because you had all these expectations, and it's the one thing you should never have in a relationship. It's the furthest thing from unconditional love, is loving someone and expecting them to act a certain way, And the only way you can do that is by loving yourself enough. So if someone walks away from you after you've been dating, or they hurt you somehow, you learn to go within and love yourself in those places that someone wasn't able to love you, And you pull out the inner child, the wounded little child within you, because there were so many places growing up where people hurt your feelings. People said things to you. A lot of stuff we buried through the years. A lot of stuff we don't even want to acknowledge. Things that were said to us as children. Um, I'm sure there's all kinds of hurts there that we've buried, and until you're ready to face it, it's no sense in going there. But you'll be led there in due time. And when you go, it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be very healing for you, and you'll really be able to step into your own power stronger. But it's even like when I came out with this glow of Source, and people were just making fun of me and telling me, I couldn't be seen, and I was so hurt. It was like it was Source within me, this beautiful light, and no one could stand to look at it. No one could stand to be around it. And it hurt me on the outside as a person, as a vessel, because I knew what it was. I knew the beauty of it, and I knew the unconditional love it had for everybody and everything. And it was like being spit on, and I had to shelter it. It wasn't, I didn't go into the holes, and I didn't go bury myself. I told him, I said, Source wants me to shine my light. I won't go and hide it for anybody, because it told me to stand bright, that I was to be seen, I was to be heard. And I've been in a hermit mode for a long time, not because I didn't want to be seen or heard, but because I was still doing a lot of healing, a lot of inner work, and every time I tried to speak, it was like that, you know. I couldn't form words, and so I knew it wasn't right. Um, but you know, when I felt the pain, I had to pull out my inner child, my wounded inner child that was now healed, and hug it, you know, and it hugged me, and it was my best friend, and because that's who gets hurt the worst, is that place of innocence within you, that place where love resides. And until you know how to do that, you know, walking in unconditional love is really can be very difficult. It's getting easier because more people are coming into it and coming into that power, and so it's really becoming, you know, more acceptable and more beautiful. People, when you smile at someone now, they're surprised and they want someone to smile at them. They're more receptive to it. I've been going out more and going into the stores and being around people more, and went to a big gallery show the other night, and you know, people are more receptive, definitely, than they were, you know, a few years ago. So, but yeah, you know, this energy is a sexual energy, and it comes off right away. You know, when I first started going out, people right away thought I wanted to have sex with them. If I talked to them, it was just like, no, I just, just saying hi, you know, just trying to be nice. And it's powerful because it's a creative energy, it's a creative frequency. And, you know, it's not intentional. It's definitely not intentional, but it's going to be, everybody is getting it, and it's not that they're out there trying to flaunt, you know, their sexuality. It's just it becomes more prominent because Source is the epitome of sex. How could how could anything be created without sex? The whole world, the whole universe has been created with sex. His intercourse with Gaia, his interaction, his it's that copulating with the energy and creating things. We do it every day, but we don't think of it as sex. But every time you do a design, an architectural design for a building, you're having sex with that design. You're creating something. You're copulating with it. You're bringing it into an existence. Maybe it's not the sperm and the egg, you know, physically, but it is a sperm and an egg. And it's the same with anything. You know, designing a bookshelf, designing anything, clothing, a hairdo, uh, you know, weaving material together, bedspreads, beds, um, radiators, heaters, chairs, tables. It's all got sexual energy in it because it's a creative force. It's something that was created. And in the higher consciousness, you understand that. In the lower consciousness, it's animal instincts only. It's lust. It's all about me. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. You know, mentality. It's no actual uniting and coming together and creating something really beautiful between each other. Looking out for each other's needs, you know, and wants and desires. It's a pleasurable experience. It's a pleasurable experience designing a skyscraper or a plane or an airport or a rocket. It's pleasurable to have that gratification when it's done of just feeling like, you know, it's a long-lasting orgasm. And we don't look at life like that. You know, we look at life as you know, completely different. And it's part of the shift of changing our trajectory and realizing that sexual intercourse is beautiful and it's not to be shamed. And there's so many religions and churches and different faiths and different cultures, you know, saying it's wrong and it's evil and it's, you know, it's sinful. And it's not sinful. It's the first. I mean, if you take that out, what do you have? You wouldn't have any children. There would be no population of mankind, of womankind. There would be no population. It's something that we just need to put in a better perspective than it's been. It's not about abuse. It's not all about self-gratification. It's about the pleasure of a man and a woman, or even the same sex, if that's the way you lean. I don't think there's any right or wrong way of falling in love. I think it depends on the condition of the heart. It depends on your Akashic records, your DNA, your you know, your own contract with Source. You know what you're supposed to be living out. And I don't think it's something I think it's something you know. I don't think it's something you experiment with. I think you know if you're not attracted to, if you're a woman and you're not attracted to a man, to men, then you know that your attraction is somewhere else. Or a man is not attracted to women, then they know that something in their body makeup, and they need to be true to that. And they've arrested people and they've called them sick and they've called them, you know, all kinds of names, and they haven't been true to themselves. And then what do? We've created priests that, okay, there's something wrong with me, so I'll just be a celibate priest in a church somewhere, and I just won't have sex with anybody. And then after a while, they can't contain themselves, and they end up molesting choir boys or altar boys, because that sexual nature is very strong, and it's meant to be fulfilled. It's a blessing. It's not a curse. It's a very sacred blessing. But we've been taught so twisted. Our teachings have been taught so twisted. And it's all in a balance. It's all in a balance. Everything has got to be balanced, you know? You know, there really is no source of evil. Source was showing me this the other way. There's only light, and you depriving yourself of light, and that's what creates the dark. Is there is no evil. It's just light, and you depriving yourself of light. Those are the two things we've got to work with. You either choose or you don't choose. And you have a free will. One feels good and one feels like crap. That's how I can just distinguish the two. Right or wrong, I don't know what's right or wrong. You know, I live in non-duality, really. I don't look at things as right or wrong. I look at things as choices. I think we have a choice to do whatever we're doing. People want to disagree with me, but it's called learning how to walk away. You know, if you don't want to do something anymore, you just walk away. If you can't get away from it, or work through it, if you can work through it. Let me read you a little something here. Creative energy is our birthright. We're not supposed to be ashamed of it. We're not supposed to mute ourselves or dumb ourselves down or feel bad about ourselves. You know, Source calls it the Holy Palace. It's a place of honor. To be able to have someone to share it with, it's a place of honor. It's a place of respect. It's a place of complete enjoyment. I mean, why would Source create something so beautiful and then tell you it's dirty or it's wrong? I mean, that's so twisted. I don't know where or how it even got there. It says here that sex that is divorced from our inner self and from our partner prevents us from experiencing the kind of connections that evoke a sense of heaven on earth. I mean, the Zohar compares sex to heaven on earth. That's pretty profound. It's a pretty far cry from what we've been taught, that it's dirty and it's wrong and it's shameful. Now, in the lower consciousness, in the animal instinct translation of it, you know, I can see how some people, you know, on the outside looking in could say it's, you know, it's that, but even then, you know, it's still a creative force. And that's why it's so important, and that's why we're rising. We're rising out of this lower frequency. Sexual relations that are devoid of divine intent, that are self-serving and self-indulgent, are likened to an electric short circuit. There's an enormous but brief spark of energy, which is then followed by darkness. When we resist selfishness and animal lust, striving to share with our mate, putting their needs and desires ahead of our own, meditating to connect to the divine aspects of sex, a circuit of energy is established. It's beautiful. This act of resisting our primal urges equates to the resisting function of a filament in a light bulb. The filament resists electric current, and then it generates light. Without a filament, without the resistance, a surge of electricity flowing between the plus and minus poles is far too intense for the bulb to handle. A short circuit erupts in a blinding burst of light, followed by a burnt-out bulb in darkness. Likewise, selfish, wanton sex is tempting, for it delivers a burst of pleasure. However, this is the metaphysical version of the short circuit. We burn out, and darkness inevitably ensues. This resulting darkness creates an opening for negative energy, ailments often associated directly or indirectly with sexual organs enters directly into our lives. And it talks about how a lot of the prostrate cancers and the different uteruses and all the diseases and sicknesses enter in because of this lower consciousness, this selfish wanton sex of you know, self-serving, you know. But it talks about if you have sex with your partner on the higher frequencies, on where you actually enjoy each other and look at each other as a creative force of Source itself, that it just keeps burning. After the pleasure, the actual physical pleasure, the light just keeps burning brighter. It doesn't go out. It just stays lit. And that creative force you can do so much with, you know. You can create a whole new universe with, basically. It's quite mystical and quite beautiful. And it's where we're headed. We're all headed in that direction. The ones that want to go, the ones that choose not to, will stay in their lower frequencies, and they'll eventually burn out, you know. They won't be able to last in these higher frequencies. A lot of COVID, it's already taken care of it. The war, it's taken care of a lot of it. Just, I mean, the energy itself, the frequencies itself is taking care of a lot of people that are resisting, that don't want to change. But the change is not bad. People are just fearful of it because it's different and it's new, and it's not harmful. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's just different. It's not all about the lust of the body, the lust of the flesh. It's more than that. It's becoming more of who you truly are. Taking the blinders off your eyes and realizing you're more than a slave to society, you know, that you actually are, you do have power within yourself. It doesn't matter who you are, you know, it doesn't matter on what line you are on the social scale, you know, whether you have money, whether you don't have money, whether you're this status or this background or this ethnicity or this culture. It doesn't matter, you know. What matters is who you are on the inside. It's within. It's a whole new world. It's within. We're creating it, and it's beautiful. And what will happen is we'll create it on the inside, and then what happens is on the outside it becomes more. It will eventually start manifesting itself in the physical, and it's going to be flippin' beautiful. It already is manifesting physically for many, and it doesn't matter what so and so's doing or so and so's doing that. You know, we're not trying to be a bunch of clones again, you know, but it doesn't mean we're not supposed to follow each other. I mean, if you feel led to do something someone else is doing and it feels like home to you, then yeah, do it. But don't do it just because you feel lost. You know, wait and see, and make sure it's for you, because you might end up being in a situation you don't really want to be in. Even though it might be perfect for someone else, it might not be perfect for you, you know. But yeah, sex is an amazing tool that we have not used to the fullest of our ability. And that's what global warming is. Global warming is the big bangs, orgasmic big bangs going around us constantly that we don't see with our physical eyes, but it's happening with every gust of wind, with every chirp of the bird, with every fallen leaf, with every sprout of seed, with, you know, every wiggle of a worm, every crawl of a snail, a butterfly, everything, all the creative action that's going on around us, sexual creative action going around us. And what happens is if there's negative forces devoid of light, then it's not able to expand, and it holds this heat within our earth. And yeah, you know, the more we raise, the more we're allowing the release of this global warming that's going on within Gaia. I'm going to tell you, raising our frequency will set it will heal our ailments, it will heal our water, it will heal the garbage situation, it will heal it will heal every problem we have, because our consciousness will be higher, our intellect will be higher, we will be thinking of things that is in alignment with Source, which is the creative force, the sexual creative force that is around us. And when we're in line with it, we will know how to solve. We will be able to do this 369. We will have free electricity. I believe that. I know that, in fact, in the deepest part of my heart, that we will have free electricity for everybody if we all get to this higher frequency. And it's happening. A lot of people don't like the internet. You know, they say it's got problems, and I'm sure, just like anything can have problems. It's not the tool. It's the person that's running the tool, you know, and their focus and their intentions to something. It's just like a hammer, and I've used this before. You've got a hammer, and this hammer can build a house or it can kill someone. But it's the person using that tool. And it has nothing to do with the actual tool itself. You can't, if you get rid of the tool, it doesn't mean that the person or the entity behind whoever was using that tool, you haven't changed them. You haven't changed that. You've only gotten rid of a very good creative thing, something that was useful in a situation, in a creative situation. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get rid of dark. It's not going to go away, but we can use it. We can quit mishandling it and learn how to handle it better so that it's useful instead of unuseful and damaging. I'm already going on an hour. I can't believe I talked this long. I'm rambling on. I do want to end with this, if I can find it. If we correct the original sin of selfish sexual deeds, we will merit in happiness, and we will go back to the attachment. We will be realigned to the attachment, to the first light. It's the same light that Abraham enjoyed, and now it now shines in the souls of the awakened, of all mankind. Any kind of an ailment associated directly or indirectly with sexual reproductive organs receives the light of healing and is purged from the world. These include cancers of the prostate, testicles, ovaries, uterus, fallopian tubes, and breasts, as well as AIDS and all forms of venereal disease. If we can just get this one thing right, quit cursing the most beautiful gift that's been given to us by dragging it through the mud of the lower consciousness of animal instinct, and let it be in the place of royalty where it really belongs, in the royal palace, the Source calls it. the royal palace of pleasure with your right partner, to hold it sacred, to hold it holy and blessed and good and wonderful, to cherish it, to keep it safe. I hope this made some sense. If it didn't, take what made sense and leave the rest. If none of it made sense, then just click off. But I love you all so much. I hope to get better at explaining myself. I haven't had to explain. I just know I go by a lot of just direct connection with Source, that it's almost just psychic. It's not really put in words. I just know what I'm supposed to do, and I do it. So a lot of times people don't know what I'm doing, and it doesn't make sense. But a lot of times I'm controlled by Source, and I'm not controlled by my own self. So I'll do stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense, and I even wonder, well, why did I do that? I don't even question myself anymore. I just know that I'm moved by something bigger than myself, and so I obey. And if I miss it, then I miss it, and I try to do better the next time. But I love you guys very much. I wish you a beautiful, happy new moon.